19, 2024. It is 4:31 in the afternoon. This is the December 19 meeting of the work group, and I call this meeting to order. The next item on the agenda is a discussion regarding clarity on requested data elements, including format and time frame. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Shafty to begin the discussion among the work group.
Okay, so if it's okay with the group, we'll go indicator by indicator, and that way I know, Jody, you had some requests for additional documents, so we thought this may be the right space and time to address it indicator by indicator, if the group is okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes?
That works for us.
Perfect. So indicator 2.1 that we agreed upon, it's the formal mentor program. It's organized, operated, and monitored by the district through professional learning specialists. The two data elements and format that we exchanged the last meeting are the formal mentor program will be provided to the work group, and then the district's professional learning specialists will adhere to all professional responsibilities outlined in their teacher on assignment, staff development, job description. And then we provided 3 exhibits for the first data element to include the manual, a sample email communication, as well as a meeting agenda. And then for the second data element for 2.1, we did provide the job description, the signed assurance form from the professional learning specialist, as well as the ALT-CERT program, which is the PLCP cohort data dating back to 2019 to current day. I know in between there was a request for the raw sort of native form of documentation. So that was also provided in the meantime between last meeting and this meeting, as indicated on that document by the green color font. So if you want to talk through, there were 4 additional data requests that we wanted to norm on exactly what are the elements and the format that you were seeking for 2.1.
Sure. Mirshawn, do you want to take this one, or you want me to take this one? Sorry, we can't hear you.
I can't tell if Mirshawn is speaking.
I think she's trying.
Hold on.
Jody, can you hear me?
Yes, Tony.
I can't get a picture.
We definitely hear you, Mr. Brown.
It originally wouldn't even let me in. I see I'm on the board, but oh.
Put a comment for Mirshawn to reach. Oh, there you are, Tony.
There you
All
are.
right. Rashawn is muted.
It's
Just
not
working
muted,
on
but
it.
we can't hear.
So the first, I'll start until Mirshawn's able to.
No, we cannot hear you.
Oh, we can't hear me either?
No, we can hear you, but she just posted in the chat. She was asking a
Oh,
question.
sorry, missed that.
Go ahead.
Well, while Mirshawn's working on that, Dr. Shafty, we were wondering if for 2.1, if there is additional documents that include monitoring logs or reports. These are just examples. This is not the only documents that would show this information, but these are just examples that we could think of. Any type of login information or Excels or anything like that that show when the mentees actually met with the mentors. We thought that could be in the form of check-in documentation, communication records. These are examples. This is not a definitive listing.
So we actually, I wasn't sure if that's what you were seeking, but now that you've provided clarity, monitoring logs and reports are in the 2.4 folder from 2019 to current day. And then also in the 2.4 folder, there's regular check-in documentation that you'll see notes in there. And the specific exhibits for monitoring logs in the 2.4 folder are 2.4 BB to 00. And then regular check-in documentation is in 2.4 GG to 00.
Okay, just I'm taking notes. If you could just repeat the last one.
Regular check-in documentation is also in 2.4 in that folder. Exhibits GG to 00.
GG to 00. Okay.
Is that us, do we?
And then I know you, from what we understood from communication records, we provided an example email to one of our principals in that same 2.1 folder, Exhibit B. And then we weren't sure audit completion records, exactly what data element and format was being sought for that one.
Is there anything, do you maintain any records that show the completion of the mentor program, 3 years check, and the audit of that?
So we do in the same documentation, I asked our professional learning specialist. So for a new teacher, we have those two classifications. They're either new teacher and they graduated from a college of ed and they're new to district, but then we also have some new teachers who follow an alternative certification pathway. If they are a new teacher to the district, we keep track of them in years 1, 2, and 3. So in your 2.2 folder, green for each year of the cohort, green means they're very first year in the program. Blue, if the cell is highlighted, they're in their second year, and purple means they're in their third year. Really, the spreadsheet sort of duplicates and replicates each year, with year 3 dropping off because they're no longer 4 years or less than 4 years of teaching experience. So the chronological spreadsheets, if you follow that color coding system, you'll see the tracking over time of where they are in the program. But if they're in the Alt-Cert program, we have to report to the state our completer rates annually, and the state determines our reporting year. I recently learned that the state reported, and it was due this week, from the 21-22 academic year. So what that means for us is we have to go back to everybody that completed our program for Alt-Cert and report where they are current day, whether they're in district or not. So we could provide that report to you that was just submitted to the state.
Okay, okay, is the original, you said that the original Alt-Cert program has to be submitted to the state and that you did that. Did we get that original document as well?
Yes, that's anything that's PLCP is the Professional Learning Certification Program, which is the alternative certification program that we have that state approved.
Okay, great. All right, and then just so that I'm sure that we're looking at the correct document, when you said the 2.4 exhibits GG to 00, this is a Team SDIRC/ACP program mentor log, and it's pages 1 through 11. And for example, I just pulled up an example of Beachland mentor logs. Is that's correct? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and so then I see it includes, it looks like every 2 weeks, this mentee met with the mentor, and it has the date, the time, and what they went over. Total spent mentoring. Okay, great. So we will, that's very helpful. We'll include this in our list for 2.1. Kevin or Michonne, did you want to take 2.2? Unless Dr. Shafti, if you wanted to talk about what you provided under 2.2, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, whatever works best for the group. I can follow the same format as 2.1, but I want to do what's best for the work group. So you guys tell me.
So what you were just talking about, Dr. Shafty, is the alt-cert initial teachers who are not teacher trained, correct? Is that the people that you're talking
Correct.
about?
Hmm. Their
Okay.
degree is in something other than education.
All right. And okay, so for these people, you said there was a 3-year, the spreadsheet that, oh, I saw the multicolored spreadsheet.
Mhm.
Okay. And there is a document, I think you just said 11 pages. So there's a document for each year that shows, you said every 2 weeks mentoring and all that, correct?
Correct. It's in the folder that we shared, there's a subfolder for each school. And then we went back for some years, we had the information since 2018 and some since 2019, but we provided historically the logs and the way that we captured that information, whether it was the new teacher survey or the mentoring logs, or I say we, but really it's somebody on my team has a one-on-one check-in meeting for those in the alt-cert program, and she takes notes, and those notes have also been provided as far as the mentor, the mentee. The alt-cert check-in looks and sounds a little bit differently because we have to adhere to the state's expectations so that they can earn their professional certificate. So the alt-cert check-ins may be a little more task-driven because we have to demonstrate our state-approved plan that they've met certain expectations. So those detailed notes, date of conversation, who the conversation is with, anything that we had historically has been provided to the shared folder.
Okay. So that's provided by the state and or to the state, and so it's basically the same for everybody, correct? If that's the alt-cert, that's what the state requires. The
state provides questions, kind of like an evaluation system. We have to respond the assurances, how we are going to demonstrate all of the Florida Educator accomplished practices, item by item. How are we going to teach it? How are we going to implement it? How are we going to assess and evaluate it? So I would say the criteria that has to be submitted to the state is similar across the districts, but how districts go about it could look differently. Also, not every district has or offers a state-approved PLCP. They will go to a local college. So it really just depends on the desire of the district. We feel like it's a good opportunity for us to offer it in district because it's incredibly cost effective.
Okay, so if we're talking about mentoring and like the plan requires or asks for a tailored mentoring plan for each teacher or each African American teacher and whatever issues, this would not address those issues, that mentoring portion. This only addresses the professional learning component that the state requires for alt-certs, correct?
Yes, but the notes will show we go above and beyond that. You'll see follow-up, you'll see conversations beyond that, because the success of our completers holds our program almost under, if we don't have a high percentage of completers, the state will almost deauthorize us to offer a PLCP. So definitely the notes are beyond the scope of basic tasks. And it's really about what the mentee and the mentor needs at that time. I will tell you beyond the notes that there may not be a physical paper trail of a phone call for the new teacher that needs support, the time on campus that our professional learning specialists will pop in and just help them in the moment. So I definitely acknowledge that we've provided 82 exhibits for mentoring, but there's so much more that happens through conversation that we really don't know how to showcase the efficiency and the trust and the relationship that the system of support has. Being able to just pick up the phone and have a conversation when anyone in that system of support is struggling, whether it's the new teacher, whether it's we know because of the mentor logs that we shared that the mentor isn't meeting with the new teacher. We have a question that the new teacher can tell us quarterly. We have 2 questions on the survey. How many times have you met with your mentor on the following topics? And are you satisfied with the pairing of your mentor? And we use a Likert scale from highly satisfied to highly dissatisfied. And then we also have a comment box that says, I wish to discuss this with district staff. And those are the pieces that you have all of the results of the new teacher survey on a quarterly basis, but those are the pieces of the mentoring program when we talk about systems of support and ongoing monitoring. Everything we provided really is the paper trail, but I think it would be a disservice to the people that do the work to not talk about the reality of time spent in their classrooms, phone calls, conversations, troubleshooting. There's so much more that goes into it that you may not have a physical exhibit for it.
So for the individual mentoring plan that the African American teacher might have an issue with or something or concern, there is no paper trail that shows that concern. The paper trail is only going to show what the professional learning community and the state requires for the new alt-cert teachers, but not the individual plan that we talk about.
That question about the satisfaction of the support and service goes to all new teachers, whether they're in the alt-cert program. Anyone who is 3 years of experience or less provides the feedback directly on a quarterly basis to the team.
Okay, so all right, so I'm trying to understand, maybe the plan it's general for everybody, not individualized to the teachers.
The plan is, I would feel a level of comfort saying the plan is individualized because the sources of data for the support of the new teacher comes from what they believe through self-assessment, what their mentor sees, what their principal sees in walkthroughs. All of those sources are looked at to then say, we need to be responsive here. This new teacher says they've met with their mentor 2 times. This mentor says they've met with them 8 times. That's a problem. We do our auditing, and then the responsiveness has to be individualized because that's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So looking at student learning outcomes from walkthrough data, looking at what the new teacher tells us, looking at what the mentor tells us, and of course, knowing that our administrators are in their classrooms constantly. All of these channels of information are so critical that does create a direct support, differentiated support for the new teacher.
So how do they tell you what they need besides, you said you have the survey? Are you satisfied with the mentor and another question? So that's how they tell you what they need.
Along with classroom visits by the professional learning specialist, along with a mentor reaching out. There are a variety of ways and changes have happened. It is not a perfect system, but it's a responsive system that when we are made aware, when anybody in that system of support is made aware, there are instances where the mentor is not the right fit. The principal thinks potentially proximity is what this person needs when they really need content. So then they don't need a lifeline that's out the door anymore. They may need somebody because they're really struggling with content knowledge because it's so specific. Maybe the pairing, we don't always jive with everybody that we're matched with in life. And those decisions happen in real time, but they're just, I can't provide you with a record other than the spreadsheets and the logs and the surveys that we've provided that's our way of work.
Do you have, Dr. Shafty, do you have documents that, and you may have provided this already, but which document would we look at to see where there are instances of when those changes happen, when the mentee and the mentor change their relationship and go with a different mentor, Would that be indicated in any of the many documents that you provided to us?
It's in rare instances. Sometimes there's a strike through where the mentor doesn't work out. But sometimes we just write over it, quite frankly.
What is
The
strike
spreadsheet.
through which
The new-
spreadsheet? There's a lot.
In 2.2, in that 3-year tracking, completion tracking,
Mm-hmm.
has all of the new teacher cohort data to include their mentor.
Okay, so if in any of those years that you provided, if the mentor was switched out, we would see just like a line go through the name and then a new name put in?
Possibly it was just typed over.
Would it be indicated in any other place, like the mentor logs or something like that, that there was a new mentor assigned
You would
and the
see
reason for it?
see a new mentor submitting it, but there are some instances we need teachers to be honest with us. So the reason for the switch may not be documented because it's somebody coming to you and confiding that this isn't working. So whoever submitted the log absolutely would be captured on that, but that would be a cross-reference against the new teacher spreadsheet.
And how would the existing mentor, be informed about this change? Would that be in writing or orally?
It could be either, it could be conversation, but ultimately the administrator on the campus, whether it's the principal or the AP, would make that decision.
So there's no like relationship monitoring documentation?
There's relationship monitoring, but I just wouldn't say there's documentation. Our mentors aren't compensated. They do it
No, I know.
no cost. So sometimes that's an instance too of the stressors of life, whether it's the mentor or the mentee. But that it absolutely could be handled in a conversation.
Okay. Has that happened to your knowledge over the past 3 years, that there's been some trade-offs of mentors? If
Yes.
you know.
If we've had to, every year when we do if we do a 20-day count and an allocation is lost or gained at a school, that could impact a mentor shift. If a teacher has moved grade levels, we had a teacher move from 5th to 4th, and maybe the mentor they had is better suited to be changed and adjusted so that there's knowledge of that grade level standards. We have some that one school has lost an allocation, but another school has gained, so they've gone to that space. So there's just a variety of factors how and why that switch could happen.
Is there a minimum with the new teachers? We have to meet weekly, 2 weeks, that the manual require so many meetings a month?
Our suggestion is once a week. But there are times where there's a testing window or there's some school calendar windows of time where they may double up this week because their new teacher is administering this past week PM2. So they could check in with them before that because their schedule may not allow it.
Okay, and exit interview records. The finish of the program, the end of the program of the 3 years.
We
Usually
don't,
it's the next.
we don't
Sorry.
do an exit interview for the program. We look at our retention rates.
Good question. I'm so sorry. Yeah, thank you. Retention rate. What does that mean?
So we made note, our KPI that we agreed to is renewal rate when we were discussing. And then renewal rate on that document is measured by the % of employees whose contract was renewed for the following year. And we provided the spreadsheets for that as well in folder 2.8, the native spreadsheets.
Okay. Yeah, because renewal
Hold on,
rate.
Bashan had a question in the chat. I'm just gonna pop it up so we can see it.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
What about the audit materials that you say you perform?
It's an audit of the materials of the mentor logs, the new teacher surveys, the documents that are in the shared folder. And the document for the 3-year completion tracking is in shared folder 2.2, year by year, dating back to, I think that one is 2018, 2019.
So on that, I don't know if Rashawn can speak, but on that, we did look at those Excel spreadsheets. If we wanted to see if a specific teacher completed the program, is there any document that says, yes, this teacher did 2018 through 2022 or whatever it may be? Or do we have to go through each of the Excels, write down what the teacher's new hire teacher was, and then, yes, they did year 1, yes, they did year 2, yes, they did year 3 as like an analysis that we perform, or do you have that information separately?
We keep track of that information through the color coding system. So if you look at 2018, 2019, you would see that green, blue, purple. And ideally your purple are in year 3 and they would have finished that year unless they're alt-cert and they have 5 years to satisfy the statement of eligibility requirements. So when you open 2019, 2020, you would see the progression of your first year teachers now being in year 2, now being coded blue, and then your teachers who were in year 2 are now coded purple for year 3.
Okay, I'll just pull one up as an example.
If you can pull it up maybe and not necessarily share your screen, just because we provided the raw information to you.
That makes sense, of course.
Thank you.
Mashawn had another question in the chat.
The key, there isn't a key on the documents. I just happened to ask the person who's been overseeing it. So green is first year, blue is second year, and purple is third year.
Purple indicates the 3rd year, but does it indicate, what indicates that they've completed it?
We measure completion and success of the program through retention.
Just a question, in that process, reassignments, transfers, how do you indicate those?
Via the logs, we wouldn't be the reassignment, but the team SDIRC administrator will reach out and let us know that there's an update to the mentor. We do monitor any changes through new hire reports through our internal system. So we can see changes are forthcoming through reassignments on board docs. And then that's our safety net. In the event the administrator does not let us know of a change, we let them know what is the plan for this shift in campus or location or position or unit.
So if we just arbitrarily wanted to see that, is there any documentation? Is it anywhere that we could see those incidents, the transfers and reassignments? Or
no, we typically just update the spreadsheet. That's been our way of work, is we just continue to update the most recent version of the spreadsheet.
Dr. Shafty, I believe in section 2.2, you've given us the Excel spreadsheets, which now we understand the color coding. That's very helpful. For new teachers, and I understand that the mentor program covers also newly assigned teachers. Is there mentor tracking logs or Excels for newly assigned teachers?
Tell me a little bit more about what you mean about newly assigned.
Okay, let me pull up. So I believe, if just looking at your section 2 performance indicators, Word document that you provided to us as a reference, and we go down to indicator 2.2, says each newly hired or newly assigned teacher and instructional staff shall be enrolled in the mentor program. And then the exhibits that you provided, 2.2A, B through E, talk about new teacher spreadsheets. And my review of those spreadsheets confirms suggest that they are just for new teachers and not newly assigned, just based on the years of experience. Is there separate tracking that you have for teachers that are newly assigned as opposed to new hires?
So the title of that is new teacher spreadsheet, but it is new teacher and newly assigned.
Okay. Is there any reason why a newly assigned teacher would not participate in the mentor program? Is it not automatic?
It is automatic. I will tell you that in rare occasions, the new teacher we have one example, she has a second job and her mentor sits in with her during her planning session or in instances where she can, but the level of interaction is really contingent upon the relationship of the new teacher and the mentor and the time parameters that allows for that. We absolutely do our best. And when it's not successful, time reasons, that's when our district support will go in and support the new teacher directly in the classroom. We're not a large enough district where we have some districts have full release mentors where that's somebody's only job. Our person that supports the new teachers has other responsibilities that are also as equally important. But when schedules are a barrier, she is directly deployed to the new teacher's classroom. It could be a discipline issue. It could be classroom management. 99% of the time, it's the new teacher is struggling in real time with managing student behaviors. And the best support for that in many instances is our district staff member going out and helping and co-teaching with that teacher in real time, where their mentor is also a classroom teacher and their schedule potentially may not allow for that. So that's where the differentiation is so unique depending on the need of the new teacher. We also, by contract, can't make a teacher stay beyond a certain time. So a mentor may be willing to stay, but the new teacher may not be willing to stay after school, and vice versa.
Okay, I understand that. Would their names, a newly assigned teacher, would their name appear on the 2.2 Excels that you provided to us, even if they ultimately decide not to stay in the program? They should be enrolled automatically, right?
They're enrolled, and like I said, if there's a discrepancy in the pairing, then our district staff member almost takes them on. They become the mentor.
Got it. Okay.
Dr. Shafter,
Yes, sir.
in the scenario you just did, say it's a self-contained class with a new teacher, and those kids are often problematic. How would this floater, this person be able to instantly support this individual teacher?
Yep.
And where would it be documented?
Yep. So we had an instance of that recently where we have a self-contained class at one of our schools who also has a new teacher. After meeting with the principal and the AP of that particular school, we reached out to the program specialist in our ESC department who is well-versed in trauma-informed care and that specific need that teacher needed. In conversations with the principal, not only would the new teacher benefit from that, but quite a few other teachers. So all through conversation, that has been set up where on January 7th or 6th, we have a professional learning day, and those new teachers and the teachers that need that support from ESC will get it. And then typically our way of work is either the ESC team and our district person will go in together and make sure that what they learned in theory is showing up in practice. But we work hand in hand with our ESC department. Mr. Seymour can definitely attest to that, because for the next 72 hours, he's over that.
You have a tracking process, or if we wanted to see that, because that teacher may be transferred, or for some reason that teacher is no longer in that situation or position, is there any way we can go and reflect on that teacher or that incident? situation or whatever you call
That
it.
specific situation, I could show you, I could provide an email because I know my person reached out to Mr. Seymour's person and it was arranged in email. So I can provide that.
It's a contractual issue. If there's a discipline, that seems to be more of a contractual issue. If there's a discipline problem that the administration needs to address separately, apart from the mentoring, that would go through administration, and that would have to, I'm gonna leave that up to Dr. Moore to continue that conversation here. But that sounds more contractual than it does.
No, I was looking at it from perspective of inserting a teacher, a new teacher, into a contained classroom with a mentor. That is one of the most deadly or serious places that a new teacher could be put. And if things go on in there and you don't have a mentor, immediate mentor, the problem could manifest itself. It's not about contract, is within your process of mentoring. That situation, and Mr. Browning and I both can attest, we are aware of situations that occurred, I'm saying, with a new teacher who's being mentored. I know it's a hypothetical to some degree, but how would that be noted? Are there any documentation? Because that teacher could later on be fired or disciplined or some other thing, but not be referenced to that particular incident as a mentor. I mean, as a new teacher, they were put in that environment without a mentor.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely track on those spreadsheets that the mentor is in place. I know that's just basic level 1 compliance, but what I think we're struggling to produce is a document that shows our habit and our way of work. So,
And this scenario, the role of the mentor fulfills the onboarding and year 1, 2, and 3 transitions into a new profession, or the profession of teaching itself, which has all of the complexities within it. The district holds itself to a higher standard, meaning we just don't rely on a mentor relationship to address the education of one of the most complex environments and with severe needs of children. So when Dr. Shafty is referencing Mr. Seymour's team, it is a above and beyond service that supersedes. It's more than mentoring. Mentoring, yes, the implementation, the compliance, all there, but that is not going to meet the need of that particular teacher. It's incumbent on us to provide the expertise through on-site modeling, through coaching, through support. So you're correct. It is a complex scenario, but it would be a disservice to say mentoring is the answer, the sole answer to support that teacher. I think the same holds true in some of our vocational courses. We have a number of people who come in and they are welding would be an example. A few years ago, we had a welding teacher come in. These are non-degreed educators based on their professional practice, and supporting him had to be a number of different individuals to help him just transition from being a master welder to a master educator. We had to provide additional services because the mentor is a system of support and mentoring, but coaching and development and growth is additional services provided to those individuals by the district and school site leaders.
Also, Jody, my team member just reminded me there's a key at the bottom of each spreadsheet.
Okay, now you know how I feel. God is good.
Jody, I think you're talking to us, but you're muted.
I am, sorry. Thank you very much. And not to jump around, but just going back to Kevin's question on 2.8 and on the renewal rates, when we look at examples of, or the source data for the renewal rates that you have, there's the non-renewal, which is a clear category, but then there's the, and this is from memory, but I believe it's discharge during probation period. What is that, and how does that fit into the numbers, if at all?
So there are certain individuals that are hired, and there is the opportunity to dismiss without cause during the probationary period. And it could be a number of different things. You are not fit to stand in front of our community's children. We don't generate the position any longer. We've provided support and coaching. You're making decisions that aren't in the best interest of children. There could be egregious things that far supersede mentoring. You won't see it much within those codes because it is the exception to the rule, but there are instances when, someone who has been hired that ultimately doesn't understand that teaching is a privilege, and it's not in the best interest to maintain that employment.
Okay, so just two follow-ups. The first one is, which teachers come in on a probationary period? Is it everybody or only certain hires?
All. Yeah, all.
Okay. And how long is the probationary period?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 year, I believe.
Okay. And so a
All
dismissal,
instructors come in 1 year probationary per state statute.
I'm sorry, Dr. Shafty, I interrupted you. I didn't hear what you were saying.
I believe all instructionals enter the profession based on state statute. In their first year, they're probationary. Almost, the state just changed the language. I'm sorry, I can't remember, but they just changed novice teachers or new teachers to inexperienced teachers is the term. And that's in their.
So all teachers that come in during that probationary period during year one, those are considered our year one new teachers. And all of those individuals are entered into the mentor program, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if some of those new teachers are dismissed or I think it's a discharge during the probationary period, that doesn't count towards the non-renewal percentage number in the chart that you provided, Dr. Shafty? Just so that I'm clear to what categories are included within that percentage and which ones aren't.
I will have to check with our HR department because we sourced this information from them and I don't want to misspeak.
Okay, that would be helpful. That would be helpful if you could also indicate when you get back to us on that, just of the codes that you provided in the source data, if you could please include which categories are included within the renewal rate and which are excluded. So for example, if a teacher decides on their own not to renew, is that included in your percentage? I believe it's not, but just if you could clarify that for us.
That's also, I believe, I will clarify, but my thought when we asked for this, it's been a couple weeks, is that it truly is measured by if you were on contract this year and you are still on contract next year, regardless of the designation, that's how renewal rate was calculated, regardless of the region.
Because when we filtered on, we just took an example under 2.8, but when we filtered on African American, came in on a specific year where termination date was in the next year, and then looked at the number, it's not matching up with the percentages that were provided in that document. So that's what led us to believe that perhaps our understanding of what goes into the renewal calculation is different than what yours is. So if we could,
Jody, can
again,
you just say it one more time so we can understand what
I'm
you're
trying,
looking at?
yeah, I'm trying to pull up the spreadsheet to speak more intelligently about the codes. But I think from memory, there were 3 or 4 codes. It was non-renewal, it was discharge during the probation period, and then there was also a, I think it was resignation or something like that. I believe there were 3 codes that were included in any column or any row that had a African-American teacher or white teacher that was non-renewed. When we look at the total number, so for example, there's 33 new hires in a specific year, and I believe during that next year there were 12 terminations that we saw for African-American teachers. And of course, 33, 12 from 33 is not the numbers is not the percentages that we're seeing in the chart that Dr. Shafty provided. But that percentage, that number 12 includes all the reasons, includes all the codes. So it includes non-renewal, it includes discharge during the probation period, and it includes resignation. So we just want to be clear about what you're including in the chart that Dr. Shafty provided in the Word document under 2.8.
Think about, Jody, we did give you like the full raw data, but the chart represents renewal rate of teachers and instructional staff in the mentoring program. Like I'm looking at 24-25, and there are over 1,000 rows. Like we really.
Oh yeah, no, we filtered.
Okay.
We filtered for new hires. Like we filtered for the year that they were hired. So we're not looking at the 1,000. We were able to filter, for example, teachers that were hired in 21-22 school year. Of those, how many were retained in 22-23? And then when we filter through those numbers, we see that 12 were not. And again, this is from, I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but 12 were not. But again, that's for every reason of termination, not just the district's non-renewal.
So if you wouldn't send, if it's okay with you, if you wouldn't mind either emailing it to Matt and CCing me, it would be helpful for us to problem solve the ones you've identified, while I also figure out with
Do you
that
want me to
department.
do you want me to save the Excel spreadsheet with our filters so you can see what we're looking at? Is that what you mean?
Yep, that would be really helpful.
We'll send that to Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, are you back? I guess.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was trying to understand, that renewal rate, which I was so we'll have a clearer understanding on that, because what I read first was 93% renewal rate, and then when we looked at those, so we just a clearer understanding. And I didn't know, figuring turnover and other things. There's so many different, I don't know, interpretations to say things, so I didn't know which one it was either.
And quite honestly, that renewal rate is a different way we typically keep track of retention. Mm-hmm. So this was definitely a new way. Even our strategic plan, we keep our usual way of keeping track of this annually is through retention rates and not renewal rates, which can mean the same things, but this display of information is not how we would approach it a different way. So happy to provide it, but retention rates are what we analyze in our day-to-day.
And just so that we have a better understanding of the difference between non-renewal and discharge during the probation period, why would you, if a new teacher is brought on during year 1 and they are both discharged during the probation period and also non-renewed, which code would you choose and why?
So I'll give you an example, and I'm just going to be, there was a teacher who during online instruction, brand new teacher, had on his screen some things that were very, very inappropriate that he accidentally shared with students. He was terminated the very next day or the same day. there are teachers at the end of the year that are non-renewed, and you are non-renewed without cause. So there is no cause for that termination. And we are a district that fluctuates in enrollment. So a lot of teachers who are non-renewed, I don't have a position for you. You're an annual contract teacher in school A, they end up in school B, and they have been working with our union opportunities to go and interview prior to interviewing other people outside, and like a brand new hire. So there, the termination during the probationary period, I'm not looking at this data, but those, I have to approve those. So I know there are very, very, very few of those. The non-renewals will be dependent upon the year. If we're, there's been a number of years here where I have adjusted or held us accountable to class size. So nothing to do with a decline in enrollment, but we were throwing away the people's money because we were 8 or 9 under the required class size. So we were going to go bankrupt. So we had to hire less teachers with the same number of students, meaning we didn't have to have as many as before.
And nothing to do with the the mentoring program.
No, nothing to do with 100%. Yeah, nothing to do with the mentoring program, and nothing, quite honestly, to do with the individuals themselves.
Correct.
It's just, now that won't be the only reason that would happen now would be a decline in enrollment. Because we now have a very, very tight system in place in terms of how we generate and purchase teachers based on enrollment.
Okay.
Can you all hear me?
So,
Yay.
Oh,
Yay.
Welcome.
So apparently TikTok was holding my mic hostage, and I'm like, where? And it's saying Chrome, but I was not logged into TikTok. So just wanted me to shut up this meeting. So here I am, barely making it.
Did we?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have, what is that? What is that, survey 19? There's a survey you do at the end of the year to report all your leaves and then your new hires too, right?
I would have to check on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought IT reports to the state. Every government agency has to report it. So when you have, like, you hired 1,000, you have 1,000 teachers, you hired 10% turnover rate. So in my mind, that is resignations, death, retirement, resignation, death, retirement, let's see, voluntary resignation, involuntary resignation, all that stuff. Don't they all come up under one bucket? So if you lost with the 33 and the 12, that I think was like 66% renewal rate for that year. So I'm wondering how, but I think that some of that explanation will be will be different, I guess, if you're talking about if they're in the mentor renewal rate. But these were all the new teachers that should have had mentors. All new teachers, I think we said, were required to have mentors, right?
Yep. So I'll definitely check with HR. There are experts on it, so I want to provide the group their expert definition of codes, what was pulled. They provided the information, so as whatever you can provide to me or to Matt, we'll send it on and get answers as quickly as possible.
Okay. All right. So that means we'll all be on the same page, because I didn't know how to read that. I'm like, this is not adding up. Process records, individual plans. I think we talked about those.
Did you talk about individual plans?
Yep.
For 2.4?
2.4. I asked a question in 2.1, I think it was, regarding when she was saying that it's the alt-cert new teachers who are not alternative certification. They were not teacher trained, so they didn't go for history education or whatever. So the new teachers not teacher trained, that's a state program that they have to do. So my question at the time was that series or program that they're doing, that doesn't really go to individual plans. Is that what your question is, on the same line?
Yeah, well, 2.4, we asked for a specific individual plan. So I was wondering if you were on 2.4 to talk about that.
No, I might have skipped ahead. I'm sorry. Where are we? We're still on 2.1.
And folks, I'm noticing that it's 5:27 and we have a hard stop at 5:30. And per my client's wishes, I was wondering if we could maybe get the next meeting or next few meetings on the books, or at least in pencil, while we have everybody together.
Do you have proposed dates, Matt?
No, I think Thursday nights historically have worked well for us, with obviously some exceptions.
The alternate Mondays that we have meetings.
So Mondays, Matt, Mondays and Thursdays have worked. The only Mondays that would not work for us would be the last Monday of every month. I thought if we could say, hey, maybe the pencil in the second or third Monday or Thursday, whatever collectively works for the group. And then we can pencil those dates in, because that way I think we have run into challenges trying to schedule 1 month out without just having a firm locked in date. So as we're planning our things as best we can, I know some of you guys get required to go to court and there's nothing you can do. But if we could say, hey, let's shoot for the second Monday of every month, then we could just pencil in. I don't know if that works or something of that. That's what we were thinking.
So the first Monday is Progressive Civic League, the second Monday is NAACP, the third Monday is usually when we have the community roundtable.
And the fourth Monday is a school board meeting, so how about Thursday?
Yeah.
Do we say the first Thursday of every month?
We would be
Excluding-
thrown out in January.
Well, not yet. I'm not at work the first week in January or the second. But I mean, I guess I could log on. No, I can't. How about the third Thursday?
Third Thursday is the 16th of January.
I'm not available the 16th.
What about the fourth Thursday of January? That's the 23rd.
We have, what do we have?
Here, but if you were done at 5:30.
Back? Oh, before? Oh, the tailgate idea. That is our Teacher of the Year celebration. I mean, if we can do 4 to 5, that might work, but that's a big night for our school district. But
So let's go to Tuesday, so we don't miss the entire month of January.
what about Tuesdays?
Won't work.
We
Tuesdays?
Yeah, just not forever, but for January and February, council for Baker are basically scheduled in depositions every day. Mondays and Fridays are best for us, but we can make some Thursdays work. But Tuesdays and Wednesdays are almost all out.
Would Thursday, the 23rd from 4 to 5 work? We just need travel time to get to the event at 6.
Yeah, I mean, it works for us. I defer to Marshawn, Kevin, Denise, and Tony on their schedules.
I can make that work.
I think it works. Are we invited to the new teacher thing?
Stop, Kevin.
Yeah, hey, it is a celebration.
It's all teachers.
It's so much fun.
It starts of the year.
All right, sounds good.
No,
We'll be rushing that together.
no one's gonna accuse you all of not being thorough in your questioning. I really was kind of hoping, me personally, or the team, that we could kind of make a vote. I don't know, based on some of your questions, do you guys feel if that's a reality at this point? I think there's some things you probably need.
Yeah, without having conferred with my client before, I will just say the information that we requested, we wanted to analyze some of these, and in particular 2.8, more thoroughly and with a better understanding of what's included. So I think once we have that information and that follow-up with Dr. Shafti, we'll be better positioned to look at those numbers again, and also some of the clarification that we got today. So
Okay. And then
the answer
for,
is not, yeah.
For me, it's the 2.4, the end of the specific individualized plan.
okay, so we'll look at those, but just general consensus, the format, the data elements that we're providing, so as we kind of move forward, that we have what we need to really review the information and monitor progress and compliance. We feel like what we're providing with the, obviously, the clarity questions is moving us forward.
Yeah, we've come a long way, absolutely.
So, let me ask you this, we wanted to, so I'll pose it to the group, kind of, I'm just thinking what the agenda could be, start the meeting next time. What day did we agree upon? It was the
23rd.
So the first thing I was gonna say is, can we get beyond the hour meeting? But the 23rd, we're gonna be stuck because we have to, but I would like to propose to the group, when we have this dialogue going in a good structure, I don't want to stop with just an hour. I know we did the hour, and we're making production of the hour, maybe considering going a little bit longer. So that's to be discussed. But the next agenda, follow-up questions and clarity from the conversations you all have with Dr. Shafti, and then presenting or giving you all the information for transportation and extracurriculars as soon as we get back in January. And if, like I say, speak now, forever hold your peace. To review and begin the probing and questioning around those two areas.
Why those areas, may I ask?
Well,
Because I think they're the most straightforward, and as we figured this process out, I'd rather start with the things that are, in my mind, straightforward so when we get to the more complex, challenging areas, we've kind of established some understanding on how we do this work. So I think they're relatively straightforward, and they're easy to present. And I think we have more complex areas to address further on down the road. I just want to get us in a good space with some ones that are easier to address. That's why.
I want to exacerbate my ADD. I think I need to concentrate a little bit on after we get some more clarity on this section that we're here right now, but I'll leave it up to everybody else.
I concur with Kevin to the degree that you're doing some things, but the clarity, that information that's necessary for us to make sound decisions, to even consider a vote, was lacking. Not to say that you haven't shown movement or given us some hope, but more in-depth information, more clarity. I think that is paramount for us to move forward and to even consider, as you alluded to, voting on anything. So, that's my perspective.
And another question, when you say vote, what does it mean, vote? Maybe I'm being too complicated. Are we looking at 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4? Are we saying everything's there? Are we saying the format's good? Are we saying what kind of vote did you have in mind? Is there a rubric? Yeah, to go back to education, a rubric for. I mean, I guess we have a rubric, but.
Yeah, but I mean, based on the KPIs presented, the data format, yeah, we think in this specific area, we've met the intent of the 2018 joint plan. And we're ready to have unitary status in this particular section. So that's what I was thinking. And to address Tony and Kevin's issue, I'm just trying to maximize our time. I think we vote when we feel as if all the information has been provided, all the questions have been answered. So I think there's some clarity on 2.4, 2.8, that we go back and forth with in the midst of, we get that clarity. Then that information is provided, and we can either vote right then and say, no, we don't have enough information, or, you know, get us this information, but I want to maximize the time. We move on to the next. And if there's, let's say there's one hanging thing, like, I don't know, something, Rashawn, in 2.4, let's not waste the time that we have. We can move on to the next one and just keep mentoring on there and say, all right, you know, so in February, we had a meeting, we had one clarifying question or concern about the data elements or the way it was presented, the format. We provided this. Do you have a response to it? And we could conduct the vote there, or say, well, we have one more question. Okay, thank you. We'll go back and get that information. Now let's do transportation. And I just want to maximize the flow of time that we have, and not, you know, because at a certain point, we're going to provide everything we have, and we're going to have to make an assessment with what we can, with what we have. But it's just keeping the time moving. So I do think in the mentoring conversation, I would hope it's only 15, 20 minutes because the information was provided. The clarity you've had, you all have met, you guys meet, you discussed it, and you guys said, hey, we feel like we're ready to give them feedback, or, you know, we'll give you feedback in February. Let's listen to transportation and extracurricular activities. And it keeps my team working, because at the end of the day, as we do this work, I think we'll get better at it. Like, okay, we should have predicted that kind of question, or we should have known that. So if we're just waiting to load those, I think we lose some time, and we all know this is a priority for everybody. So that I'm not trying to rush it. I'm just trying to present it as quickly as possible.
Yes, and I had, son of a gun. Somebody's always knocking at your door when you're trying to get something done. Here's a question. I'll go get them in a minute. Like we talked about the, we talked about the beginning teachers.
It's Christmas carolers.
Yeah, I hope so. The alt-cert teachers, and then now we've also had teachers who were, what do you call it, when they were placed, or newly something teachers. And
newly assigned.
Remember, yeah, newly assigned. And we had a conversation about a year and a half ago, and there were four teachers who were newly assigned to those roles, and who were 3 out of 4 were non-renewed, and that they had mentors, but the mentors didn't have much. There was not a lot of, so, you know, I want to see if there was any, I got some questions with that too. Who are the newly assigned and all of those, you know, along those lines.
I feel, and if Dr. Sheffield, you don't feel the same way, say so, that we have a very clear understanding of what we need to provide based on this dialogue. So I feel good. I have really got to go. I do want to thank Mr. Seymour. Mr. Seymour will not be at our next meeting, so.
No, the one after that.
As he is retiring, just for the benefit of the group, I have pushed out information to all of my principals, senior staff, asking if anyone is interested in joining this team for the district, not trying to fill Mr. Seymour's shoes, because there'll be a lot of space in those shoes. So as soon as I have that information, I'll let the collective group know who it's going to be. I'm looking for a principal or a senior staff member, but I really want somebody who really wants to be part of this and not voluntold to do this. So I'm still going to have that information come back to me. So we'll have somebody different here.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Dr.
All right,
Seymour, for everything.
Congratulations,
Enjoy.
Seymour.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dr.
Merry
Seymour.
Enjoy
Christmas.
Enjoy your
hard
retirement.
work, Eric.
All
Thank
right.
you, thank you.
All right. And Tony, if I don't call you tomorrow, I gotta get with you early next year, just feedback and questions and community things.
Sound like a plan.
All right, brother. All right. Thank you.